The trucks roared through the streets of Haven. Headlights cut through smoke and falling ash. Buildings burned on both sides of the road. The survivors inside the convoy stared in shock. Haven, the place they had hoped would save them, was already collapsing. Hundreds of zombies filled the streets. Alex leaned out of the truck window and fired his rifle. 2 zombies fell. 3 more climbed over them. Marcus laughed nervously. "Well, looks like we found the welcoming committee." The convoy smashed through a barricade and rolled deeper into the settlement. In the distance stood the central command tower. The last survivors were trapped there. And between them and that tower was a sea of the dead. Inside the tower, the last defenders were running out of ammunition. Commander Reyes slammed a fresh magazine into his rifle. "How many left?" he asked. A young guard checked through the broken window. "Too many." Outside the tower, hundreds of zombies pushed against the barricades. They clawed at doors. They smashed against windows. The defenders had been holding them off for hours. But the barricades were breaking. Then suddenly, engines roared in the distance. Reyes turned toward the sound. Through the smoke he saw headlights. Vehicles. 3 trucks charging through the streets. And behind them, dozens of zombies being crushed under tires. One of the guards smiled. "Sir, I think help just arrived." Alex saw the tower ahead. But the street between them and the survivors was completely blocked. Cars. Debris. Hundreds of zombies. Marcus swore. "We're not driving through that." Alex nodded. "No." He grabbed his rifle and stepped out of the truck. "We're walking." Sarah stared at him. "Through that." Alex looked at the trapped tower. "If we don't, those people die." The survivors formed a line behind the trucks. Engines revved. Floodlights blazed. And Alex shouted, "Move!" Gunfire erupted across the burning streets. The battle for Haven had begun. Gunshots echoed between the buildings. Zombies collapsed in waves. But for every one that fell, 2 more appeared. Marcus fired from the truck roof. "Alex, what? They just keep coming." Alex knew he was right. This wasn't just a group of wandering zombies. The main horde had arrived. Thousands of them were now flooding through Haven's broken walls. And the survivors were standing directly in their path. Inside the tower, Commander Reyes met Alex. They shook hands quickly. "No time for introductions," Reyes said. Alex nodded. "What happened here?" Reyes pointed toward the settlement map. "Haven's outer wall collapsed 2 hours ago." Alex frowned. "Collapsed?" Reyes shook his head. "Exploded." The room went silent. "Someone destroyed it from the inside." The survivors stared at each other. If the wall was destroyed from inside, that meant something worse than zombies. "A traitor," Reyes continued quietly. "One of our engineers sabotaged the defenses. Then he opened the gates." Marcus stared in disbelief. "Why would anyone do that?" Reyes looked toward the burning city. He believed the world should end. And he wanted Haven to fall with it. The command tower shook as something heavy slammed against the barricades outside. Zombies. Hundreds of them. Commander Reyes looked at the security screens. Several cameras were still working thanks to Haven's solar power. One of the monitors flickered. A man appeared on the screen, walking calmly through the burning settlement. Marcus leaned closer. "That him?" Reyes nodded slowly. Yes. The man carried a backpack and a rifle. But he wasn't running from the zombies. He was walking with them. Almost guiding them. Sarah whispered, "That guy's insane." Reyes spoke quietly. "His name is Daniel Kessler. He was the engineer who helped build Haven's outer wall." Alex stared at the screen. "So he knew exactly how to destroy it." Reyes nodded. "And he did." Outside, the zombie horde continued pouring through the broken wall. If nothing stopped them, Haven would be completely overrun within an hour. Marcus studied the map. "There's one chance." He pointed toward the damaged wall section. "If we close the inner blast gates, we can trap most of the zombies outside the central district." Reyes frowned. "Those gates require manual activation." Alex already knew what that meant. Someone had to go out there. Through the zombies. Sarah crossed her arms. "Well, that sounds like a terrible idea." Marcus grinned. "So naturally we're doing it." Alex, Marcus, and Sarah left the tower through a side exit. The night air smelled like smoke and death. The streets of Haven were chaos. Fires burned in broken buildings. Dozens of zombies wandered between vehicles and barricades. But further down the road, the true horde waited, thousands of bodies pressing toward the settlement. Marcus loaded a fresh magazine. "You ever notice something?" "What?" Sarah asked. "Every time we find a safe place, it immediately becomes dangerous." Alex laughed quietly. "Let's just close that gate." They moved through the shadows carefully, silently, but zombies were everywhere, and eventually, one of them saw them. Then another, then 10. The chase had begun. The control building stood near Haven's inner wall. But getting there meant crossing an open courtyard, filled with zombies. Sarah counted quickly. 30, maybe 40. Marcus sighed. "Could be worse." Alex looked at him. "How?" Marcus shrugged. "Could be 50. Alex smiled slightly. "All right." He raised his rifle. "Let's clear the courtyard." Gunfire exploded into the night. Zombies fell. More rushed forward. But the survivors fought like soldiers. Years of survival had made them fast. Precise. Deadly. Within minutes the courtyard was silent again. Marcus wiped sweat from his forehead. "See, easy." Then the ground began to vibrate. Alex slowly turned around. The main horde had arrived. The control room still had power. Old computer screens flickered to life. Marcus worked quickly at the terminal. "Come on, come on." Outside the windows the first wave of the horde reached the courtyard. Hundreds of zombies now pushed through the open streets. Sarah fired through the doorway. "Marcus, hurry." He hit the final command. A loud alarm echoed across Haven. Then the ground shook again. Massive steel gates began sliding closed along the inner wall. Slowly, too slowly, Alex watched the advancing horde. They were seconds away. "Marcus, I know." The gates finally slammed shut. Thousands of zombies were now trapped outside the central district. The survivors inside Haven had a fighting chance again. But the celebration didn't last long. Because one of the security screens turned on automatically, showing Daniel Kessler again, standing on Haven's main radio tower, and smiling. Back in the command tower, Commander Reyes stared at the monitor. "What is he doing?" Then the radio systems across Haven suddenly activated. Speakers crackled to life. Daniel's voice echoed through the settlement. "Survivors of Haven, I hope you're enjoying your last night." Alex clenched his fists. "What now?" Reyes looked terrified. "He's activating the emergency broadcast system." Marcus frowned. "So?" Reyes swallowed slowly. "That system broadcasts on military frequencies." The room went silent. Alex understood immediately. Daniel wasn't calling for help. He was calling something else. Something much worse. The command room fell silent after Daniel's broadcast. Marcus looked at Alex. "So, he just invited every zombie in the region to dinner." Commander Reyes nodded grimly. "That broadcast can travel over 50 kilometers. Sarah stared at the map. "That means thousands more zombies," Marcus finished. Alex looked up toward the glowing radio tower outside. Red warning lights blinked at the top. "If we destroy the transmitter," Alex said, "the signal stops." Reyes shook his head. "It's already out." Alex grabbed his rifle. "Then we stop the man sending it." Marcus sighed. "I had a feeling you were going to say that." Outside, the tower stood nearly half a kilometer away. Between them and the tower, hundreds of zombies filled the streets. But if Daniel stayed alive, Haven would fall for sure. Alex opened the door. "Let's end this." The survivors moved through Haven like shadows. Gunshots echoed occasionally in the distance as other defenders fought smaller groups of zombies. But near the tower, the dead were everywhere. Cars burned in the streets. Bodies covered the pavement. Marcus pointed ahead. "Tower entrance." But dozens of zombies wandered around the building. Sarah whispered, "We go loud." Alex shook his head. "No." He picked up a metal pipe from the ground. Then he threw it across the street. The pipe clanged loudly against a truck. Every zombie turned toward the sound. Slowly they began wandering away from the entrance. Marcus grinned. "Mechanic brain." Alex shrugged. "Sometimes simple works." The survivors slipped quietly into the tower building. Inside the tower, emergency lights flickered red. A spiral staircase led upward. 30 floors. Marcus looked up. "You couldn't have picked a smaller tower." Alex started climbing. Less talking. Their footsteps echoed through the empty stairwell. Halfway up, they heard something. Movement above. A door slammed. Sarah whispered, "He knows we're coming." Marcus checked his rifle. "Good." At the top floor they found Daniel Kessler. He stood beside the radio transmitter, watching the burning settlement below. He didn't even turn around when they entered. "You made it," he said calmly. Alex raised his rifle. "Turn it off." Daniel laughed softly. "You still don't understand." Marcus stepped forward. "You destroyed Haven." Daniel finally turned to face them. His eyes were calm. "Cold. I freed the world." Sarah frowned. "By killing everyone." Daniel shook his head. "No, by letting nature reclaim it." He pointed toward the endless horde moving toward Haven outside the walls. Humans had their chance. Now it's over. Alex tightened his grip on the rifle. "Not tonight." Daniel suddenly pulled a pistol from his jacket. Gunfire exploded in the tower room. Glass shattered. Marcus dove behind a control console. Alex fired twice. Daniel disappeared behind the transmitter equipment. The room filled with smoke and sparks. Sarah shouted, "Careful! The transmitter. If the equipment exploded, the entire tower could collapse." Daniel fired again. Bullets ripped through metal panels. Marcus moved around the side quietly. Slowly, carefully. Then he stepped behind Daniel. "Hello." Daniel spun around. Too late. Marcus knocked the pistol from his hand and slammed him to the floor. Alex quickly tied Daniel's hands. For the first time, the tower fell silent. Marcus looked out the tower window. Then he swore. Alex stepped beside him. The horizon was moving. Not wind, not dust. Zombies. Tens of thousands of them. All heading toward Haven. Even without the signal, the broadcast had already done its damage. Reyes spoke through the radio. "Alex, what's your status?" Alex answered slowly. "The signal is stopped." Then he looked at the endless horde approaching the settlement. "But the real problem is just getting started." Alex looked at the survivors in the tower. "Prepare every weapon. Seal every gate. Because tomorrow, Haven fights the largest zombie horde the world has ever seen." If you want to see the largest battle in the entire zombie series, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Because in the next episode, the Great Horde War begins. And Haven will either become the last city on Earth, or the biggest zombie graveyard in history.